بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع هداه وأما بعد. Our sincerest apologies for today's beginning. Our brother, unfortunately, Ikhwan broke down on the way, so it was out, no doubt, of our control. قدر الله ما شاء فعل. But we will try and benefit and capitalize from the time that we have before us. Today's session, we want to look at an ayah, and it is without doubt from the important universal ayat that address the hal and the state and the reality of Ibn Adam. That is that Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned in Surah Fatir, Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid in yasha' yudhhibkum wa ya'ti bi khalqin jadid wa ma dhalika 'ala Allahi bi'aziz. Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned, O mankind, indeed antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. You are the ones that are in need of Allah. You are faqir, poor. Yani your paupers in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jalla as it relates to Allah. Wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one that is al-ghani al-hamid. Yani the one who is rich and free, worthy of praise, rich and free of all needs and worthy of all praise. This ayah, ikhwan, is a hugely important ayah in terms of shaping the belief of the believer and shaping how he considers himself and sees himself within this dunya, and how he considers himself as it relates to his Lord, and how he considers himself in relation to the interactions that he has while he is on earth in the dunya. Antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. And the faqir, ikhwan, is the one with some of the people of knowledge that is destitute, the one who has absolutely nothing. The scholars differ concerning the difference between the faqir and the miskeen. Who is worse? Who is lower? Is it that the miskeen is worse off, poorer? Or is it that the faqir is poorer? From them are those who hold that the miskeen is the worst and the faqir has something but not enough. While there are those who hold the opposite, that the faqir has nothing and the miskeen has shway, has something. And that is what is most correct, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. Because in the story in Surah Kahf, the story of Musa and Khadir, when Khadir made the hole in the boat, and you'll be familiar with the story, he did three things. He said, you can accompany me as long as you don't ask me about what I do. Went to a township, they embarked upon a boat, he made the hole in the boat before the boat left out. They went to another area, another region, he saw a little small boy, baby boy, yani child, killed him. And then they went to another region they were not taken care of, and in those days, ikhwan, the wayfarer, you put him up, you give him something to eat so he can continue upon his journey, give him somewhere to sleep. They gave them nowhere to eat, nowhere to sleep, and they had to continue upon their journey. On the way out, he saw a wall falling down, he built the wall back up. And so Musa said, you could have took payment for that. And so he said, Hada firaq bayni wa baynik. This is the separation between me and you. And I shall now explain to you why I did what I did. When he spoke about the hole that he made in the boat, he said, وَأَمَّا السَّفِينَةِ فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ فِي الْبَحْرِ. He said, as far as the boat or the ship is concerned, then it was owned by some masakeen. It was owned by some masakeen, some poor people. But he referred to them as miskeen. So even though they were poor, they owned a boat. Yani, which in our time, you'd be relatively wealthy to have a boat. But here, that was their only means of sustenance. They used to use the boat to bring people across the river and to earn some money. And so here Allah Azza wa Jal referred to with the statement of Khadir, أَمَّا السَّفِينَةِ فَكَانَتْ لِمَسَاكِينَ. As far as the safina and the boat was concerned, it belonged and it was owned by some masakeen, which indicates that the miskin has something and the faqir is destitute. That is what is most correct, and that is what is what correlates and is congruent with the ayah that we have before us. And Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned, Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. Wallahu huwa al-ghaniyyul hamid. Oh mankind, you indeed are the fuqara, poor. That is, you have nothing. You have nothing. And Allah Azza wa Jal is the one that is al-ghani. He is the rich, the wealthy. He is the one that is free of all needs, worthy of all praise. That ayah that Imām Ibn al-Qayyim, Ikhwani, discusses it extensively in his tremendous book, Tariq al-Hijratayn. His book, Tariq al-Hijratayn, is in essence, Ikhwan, one of the books that is oftentimes neglected from the Kutub of Imām Ibn al-Qayyim, but it is as though it is a summary of all of his other works. Yani, all in one, and how everything that he has discussed, everything to do with qadar and the levels of this and the levels of that, how they manifest practically in the life of the believer. And so, Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he discusses, and as a matter of fact, he starts the book with the discussion of this ayah, with the discussion of the fact that antumul fuqara'u ila Allah, yani your paupers. And that attitude, we must understand it well. You have nothing other than what Allah Azza wa Jalla has allowed you to have. But in your origin, the origin of your essence is you possess and you have nothing. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions, بين سبحانه في هذه الآية أن فقر العباد إليه أمر ذاتي لهم لا ينفك عنهم كما أن كونه غنيا حميدا أمر ذاتي له. He said that Allah Azza wa Jal in this verse has explained that them being, that is creation, mankind being in absolute need of Allah Azza wa Jal and poverty and dependence upon Allah, that is the reality of their very essence, or the essence of their very being. That they are created with nothing. They are nothing other than that which Allah Azza wa Jal has given to them and that which Allah Azza wa Jal has blessed them with. But they should understand who and what they are. And that is that not that a person dishonors himself and disgraces himself, but that he understands his reality as it relates to his Lord. That he is faqir. He has nothing. It doesn't matter how much you've worked, yahi. It doesn't matter what type of business you have done, or what type of trade you have done. It doesn't matter what type of honor and respect you have among the people. It doesn't matter how much you have developed or built your reputation. Antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. You are paupers when it comes to Allah Azza wa Jal. That is how the believer, that is how he should consider himself when it comes to his Lord. Everything that he has is from him. If it were not for him, then he would have nothing. And Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned that in various places in the Qur'an. Does mankind not see that he was created min nutfa فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ? Does mankind not see that he was created from semen? And now he's become this big opponent? Anyone who was created from semen, he's now become this big opponent? Arguing with his Lord and with the decree of his Lord? Or like the statement of some of the Salaf from them, Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais, who said, Ajaban ya ibn Adam. Ajaban. Amazing ibn Adam. Kayfa yatakabbar. How can he be proud and haughty. وَقَدْ خَرَجَ مِنْ مَخْرَجِ الْبَوْلِ مَرَّتَيْنِ. How can he be proud and haughty when he has exited from the exiting place of urine twice? He has come out of the exiting place, akramakumullah, of urine twice. How is he going to be proud and haughty? أنتم الفقراء إلى الله الله هو الغني الحميد. And no doubt this affair, ikhwan, if we understand it, it will help the believer to be that humble servant that Allah Azza wa Jal describes him with. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, as we mentioned yesterday. Worshippers of Allah, those who walk upon the earth, هَوْنًا, humbly, with humility, because they know their own reality. They know their own reality. Imām Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, then he mentions that just as poverty is their reality and the essence of their being, then his richness and praise is essential to his essence. Now he mentions فَغِنَاهُ وَحَمْدُهُ ثَابِتَانِ لَهُ لِذَاتِهِ وَفَقُّ مَنْ سِوَاهُ إِلَيْهِ ثَابِتٌ لِذَاتِهِ لَا لِأَمْرٍ أَوْجَبَ. He said that their ghina, that is his ghina, his self-sufficiency, his riches, his richness, his praiseworthiness is and belongs to him by his very nature. Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who is eternal, the one who has always existed, ikhwan, and will always continue to exist. Al-awwal wal-akhir, something the mind cannot comprehend. We can only comprehend things with beginnings, things that had some time that it started. How can we comprehend one that had no beginning and has always existed and will always exist? Allah al-Azim, Dal Jalali wal Ikram. How are we going to comprehend the richness of Allah, riches of Allah Azza wa Jal, the fact that Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Ghani, Al-Hamid? How? But you, anyone from among the creation, regardless of how tremendous you are, whether you're a human being or other than that, from the tremendous creations within this khalq, then antumul fuqara, all of you, regardless of who you are. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا. That there is no creature on earth except that upon Allah is its sustenance. Ikhwan, just consider that for a moment. There is no creature on earth except that upon Allah is its sustenance. Think about every single ant, mathalan, that exists on earth. You could start just in Germantown, then spread the da'irah shway, Philly, then spread the da'irah shway, Pennsylvania, then spread the da'irah shway, the East Coast, then continue to and consider just the ants, one creature, just the ants, ikhwan. How many billions and trillions of ants exist within the dunya, and Allah Azza wa Jal has guaranteed the rizq of each and every one of them, sees them, is acquainted with them, is acquainted with the one that needs food, acquainted with the one that needs sustenance, with all of those. If you were just to open one hive, just consider all of those running around there in that one place. Allah Azza wa Jal has guaranteed each and every one of them rizq, the sustenance. And Allah is familiar with who has eaten and who is hungry from them. Those ants. And Allah is acquainted with where and how He's going to provide each and every one of them with their next meal. Just ants. And then you think of the many millions of life forms that exist in the dunya, Start with the sea, start with the ocean, consider the small amoebas that you can't even see, that you can only see under a microscope. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. Then consider the varying types of aquatic life within the sea, then the various birds, then the many millions of insects. Consider all of that before you even look at mankind. And there is not one of those creatures except that Allah knows its state. Allah Azza wa Jal knows that which is related to, whether it is in need of food or drink. Allah Azza wa Jal has decreed for each one of those things, one of those creatures, its rizq and its sustenance, and will provide for each and every one of them. For Subhanallah al-Azim. Salam. In this regard, we have the statement of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he mentions, وَالْفَقْرُ لِي وَصْفٌ ذَاتٍ لَازِمٌ أَبَدًا كَمَا الْغِنَاءُ أَبَدًا وَصْفٌ لَهُ ذَاتِيٌّ. He said, and poverty to me and for me is a quality of my essence, an everlasting quality, just as richness to him subhanahu wa ta'ala is eternally his essential quality. And that, ikhwan, is just as it relates to the affair of rizq for the animals. Then consider, ikhwan, the fact that they communicate, and that Allah Azza wa Jalla is familiar with their communication. And they've detected that ants actually, if we just deal with the example of ants, that ants actually have a language, have a language that they communicate with. They've discovered that. No, we knew from the book of Allah Azza wa Jalla, we knew without them needing to tell us. Now Allah Azza wa Jalla informs of the statement of the Nahl, the statement of the ants when the army of Sulaiman was coming. That they said, be careful of the army of Sulaiman, that they don't trample on you. They said to each other. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla informed us of the fact that they communicate with each other. So then consider, ikhwan, that each and every one of those animals, each and every one of those creatures, when they communicate with each other, that Allah Azza wa Jalla hears their communication, deciphers each one of them, Allah Azza wa Jalla hears it, ikhwan, not as we would probably hear it, muffled voices, that Allah Azza wa Jalla hears everything. And that is, there is no ghumud, there is nothing unclear to Allah Azza wa Jalla. His hearing of those things is perfect. as He is, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single one of those creatures, when they communicate, Allah Azza wa Jal hears them. And every single individual that supplicates to Allah, Allah hears each supplication and responds to each supplication. The many millions of people that supplicate to Him. Consider it, ikhwan. Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Ghani Al-Hamid, the one that is full, worthy of all praise, is not in need of His creation. Na'am. And so Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions, إِذَا عُرِفَ هَذَا فَالْفَقْرُ فَقْرَانِ. If that is understood, then understand that faqr, poverty, is of two types. Poverty is of two types. فَقْرٌ اضْطِرَارِي عَامٌ وَفَقْرٌ اخْتِيَارِي نَاتِجٌ عَنْ مَعْرِفَتَيْنِ شَرِيفَتَيْنِ. He said that the faqr, then, poverty, is of two types. The first type is what is referred to as ittirari. That is, it is poverty that is compulsory. You can't avoid it. And that is the poverty that is upon you as a creature, as a created being. The fact that you are created, you are in need of your creator. That is faqr, that is ittirari. That is faqr, and that is poverty, that is ittirari. That is poverty that you have no choice dealing with or to deal with. It's just your reality. That is just our reality. We are fuqara, we are masakeen, we are paupers as it relates to Allah Azza wa Jal. Know that, understand it. Then he mentions the second type of faqr is faqr ikhtiyari. Second type of faqr is a voluntary poverty. And this poverty is a poverty that comes about based on two branches of knowledge. The first he mentions, rahimahullah, أحدهما معرفة العبد بربه والثاني معرفته بنفسه. He said, these two branches that cause this ma'rifah or this faqr ikhtiyari, this voluntary faqr, this voluntary poverty, which is an attitude that he has, that he knows and recognizes. And so you have the situation of him being created. You can't avoid the faqr and the poverty that is connected to that. That is just who you are, created being. We are created, we're born, we grow, and then we die. Yarhamukallah. That is our reality. But this faqr al-ikhtiyari, or this poverty that is by choice or voluntary, it is the faqr of the one who recognizes and understands with knowledge. Number one, he mentions ma'rifatul abdi rabbahu bi rabbihi. When the servant knows his Lord, the more he knows his Lord, the more he knows Allah, His names, His attributes, His af'al, that which Allah Azza wa Jal has done with the people of the past, how Allah deals with the believers, how Allah deals with those who belie and reject Him, how Allah Azza wa Jal has dealt with and given aid to those who establish Tawheed. And then the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, that Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Qawi, Al-Jalali wal-Ikram, As-Salam, Al-Mu'min, Al-Muhaymin, Al-Aziz, Al-Jabbar, Al-Mutakabbir. All of these beautiful names of Allah, the more he studies them and becomes acquainted with them, the more he feels that poverty. The more he realizes how much of a pauper he really is. The more he realizes how much of a pauper he is. And the second type of knowledge, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions, ma'rifatul abdi rabbahu, that the servant knows his Lord. And afwan, ma'rifatul abdi nafsahu, that the servant knows himself. The more he knows himself and his own reality, really, look, put aside what the people think about you, Put aside what the people have in their heads concerning you. You know yourself. Regardless of what you display to the people, you know yourself. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned that reality, ikhwan, a reality that we should remind ourselves concerning time and time again. بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا وَلَوْ أَلْقَى مَعَاذِيرًا. That indeed mankind knows himself better, even if he puts forward his excuses. He knows himself better. That reality, again, increases this voluntary faqr, this voluntary poverty. And if you could imagine these knowledges weighing him down, it would cause his head to hit the ground. And if these branches of reflection upon himself, upon his reality, and upon his Lord and the tremendousness and the magnanimity of his Lord, it would cause his head to remain on the ground in sujood. If we really, 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 really understood, and if we really had some knowledge, and that is why Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدَرِهِ. And indeed, they have not given Allah His true estimation. وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned that they have not given Allah His true estimation. And the earth will be in His qabda, will be in His hand on the day of judgment. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. And the heavens will be rolled up in His right. May Allah Azza wa Jal be freed and exalted above that which they ascribe to Him, that which the mushrikun ascribe to Him. This affair, ayyuha al-ikhwa, then, the more we grow in a knowledge of the tawheed of Allah and the names and the attributes of Allah and the reality of that which Allah Azza wa Jalla has informed us concerning Himself, the more we realize how tremendous Allah is. And the more we grow in a reality of ourselves, a knowledge of self, real knowledge of self, real knowledge of self. And that is that, Yahi, you're nothing. Antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. You're paupers before Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah is Al-Ghani Al-Hamid. Imām Ibn Al-Qayyim, Ikhwan, has some beautiful kalam. Perhaps Bukra will mention some of the passage around this ghina, because it's asal, kama yaqulun, honey. هذا والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد